you know, it's not necessarily maturity is not always being the bigger person for other people, but it's also being the bigger person for yourself, I think. And again, it's hard to find the common ground between taking care of yourself and taking care of others, but understand that how much you want to tolerate your emotional well-being also matters in terms of defining maturity itself. So yeah, it's okay to push people away, it's okay to want to end relationships, it's okay to not always be there for people if it torments yourself emotionally and physically, you know what I mean? And that is also a form of maturity. And validating your feelings, your emotions, your authentic self is not what helps you to grow. And that is, in fact, that is very toxic for yourself. So it's not a good thing, basically. Okay? So however you want to, don't ever feel like you are in any way less valued than the people around you, because you are, and you should take care of yourself. And this is what I think most people should do. And most people who want children, most people who are catering to people around them should do, is also taking care of themselves, but also considering the impacts of taking care of yourself to others. And it's hard to find a fine line between it, but you know, by tolerating certain amounts of benefits to people and to yourself may help you find that level of maturity, I think. Again, I don't know if I'm making sense. Please bear with me. I'm not that smart. Not that I want to be that smart, but yeah, here you are, listening to me talking about shit. Another thing that is very intoxicating about maturity, if just now we talked about, you know, the toxic traits of growth in today's world, we're gonna talk about maturity in today's world, which is, you know, people tend to associate maturity with age and experience. I understand that as adults you go through much more, you know, experience as a person growing up and hardships, but I think it's also important to note that the changing world has different perspectives now. Like, sometimes your experience isn't always applicable to what the youth has to endure in this modern age, because we are, again, very consumed by social media and all that shit that is very tiring and emotionally exhausting. So don't judge people's maturity because they lack experience or they're very young. But again, some younger people have much more ability to understand and process things better than adults sometimes. I mean, I may not watch Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, but I know that show portrays a lot of good values and how the children actors were really good at their job, and portray this sort of like notion that children can also understand emotions. Children can also feel shit, basically. And just because you're an adult doesn't give you the right to undermine their feelings, you know, and act like they don't exist in the drama that you create. So yeah, this also comes to a political perspective, which I don't want to talk about, because I don't want to dribble my feet in politics, because it sucks. Politics is a dirty play. But yeah, you know, youth's voice should be heard because they are much more, not to say relevant, because everyone's voice is relevant, but they understand better, instead of adults trying to shove all the bullshit into youth's, you know, mouths. See, this is why I don't talk about politics. But yet again, maybe let's narrow it to a school perspective, how maturity shapes us. I think me, especially me going through boarding school, I really see how people connote the idea of maturity, because I've had this friend, I wouldn't consider him a very close friend, but he was like quite close. He was my batchmate, and he was like into anime and shit, and he's also like very, I don't know, very expressive in his like true self, which is into anime, and which is not wrong. People who love anime are cool, okay? I don't watch anime, but it's cool. They are cool. And I think the reason why people seem to associate him with immaturity is not because of the anime, but because of the way he expresses himself, like the way he I don't know. Honestly, I don't have the right to talk on his behalf because it was his experience, but I feel like he was much associated with, you know, being immature because of the way he tries to express himself, and you know, he draws a lot, and sometimes he likes focus in class, blah blah blah. Sometimes, yeah, basically the way he acts, okay? And honestly, it wasn't that right to me, because something that needs to be highlighted is self-expression isn't a form of immaturity. You know, like I shit post a lot on Instagram, like not now necessarily, but in the past. Oh my god, I was so cringy. My cringe face ain't leaving me, bitch. But I was so cringy, and I don't think that was a sign of immaturity. I still shit post now. I literally just made a story about Shrek is love and Shrek is life. And I don't think being goofy or being silly is a sign of immaturity, because people can have fun, and maturity isn't acting like, oh, you're a big person and dull most of the time, 24/7. No, it's not that. To me, maturity is having fun. Maturity is having fun. Maturity is, again, doing what's best for you and for your and for others in different scenarios, because in different scenarios it requires you to be fun. In different scenarios it requires you to be sad. In different scenarios it requires you to be empathetic to people, and that is how you grow maturity. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making shit, but yeah, self-expression is not a form of immaturity, you son of a... Yeah. But again, I don't think it was because of anime. He was like deemed immature or whatever. Yeah, maturity is a hard topic. Honestly, maturity doesn't have this threshold, nor does anything. Growth doesn't have a threshold. Nothing has like this sort of bar that you have to achieve to be considered maturity. To me, at least. I don't know about to you guys, but I might be wrong. But yeah, to me, maturity is unique to each individual. Okay? Now, another scenario that I think also relates to maturity is being too mature for your age. You know what I mean? I had this junior. He was very mature for his age. I know this is like, oh, first, why are you doing solidifying? Oh my god, I said my name. Why are you solidifying your stance? No, I just thought that he was deep for a 13-year-old, which is not wrong. It's just like, wow. Okay, I was astounded by his ability to think that way, but also it wasn't wrong. It was actually quite beautiful and quite unique for him to be able to, you know, understand and process things that are happening around him and think not the same way as his friends does. which is why he actually grew close to me, because he was like always questioning things, and I think that was like quite kind of fun personally. So yeah, there's never an age to be too young to be mature. The fuck, yeah, there's never an age to there's never a very young age to be. You get my point, okay? Yeah, that is it. Okay, I think I'm talking too much. It's been 55 minutes, or how, I don't know. The last thing that I want to touch about in maturity is faking maturity. This is an interesting topic that I think most people underestimate. Is faking maturity. What is faking maturity? Faking maturity, again, is pretending that is trying so hard to be this bigger person in different scenarios where you act like you're, you know, cool and shit, but you're harming yourself. And that is why I believe that faking maturity itself is immature. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, but yep, that is it. So that is all for maturity. So to end this podcast, actually I'm very glad that this podcast wasn't much of me talking shit about my life that you guys don't want to hear. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about for this podcast episode is the difference and similarities before we dive into the questions. Oh, there's so much. Okay, but the difference first is, I think one is inevitable. Growth is inevitable, while maturity is a choice to me personally, because it is your choice whether you want to learn from it or you want to go the same route and inflict the pain on others. That is where maturity comes in, and therefore the experience itself isn't a choice, because you don't have control of it over it necessarily, but to learn from it is. And therefore maturity, I think, for me, is a choice. And also growth itself is a pattern. It's a pattern of up and downs and a cycle, while maturity is a progress that could in very rare cases be taken down. Which honestly, if once maturity is like decreases, I think it's very dangerous, because to be losing that sort of like sanity at a very drastic amount at one time causes one to like do very dangerous shit. And I don't want to talk about that. You know, let's just forget I said about that. But the similarities between growth and maturity is that everyone's unique. Just because you aren't a quick learner or you don't excel in your exams the way your friends doesn't mean that you're in any way a shitty person, or like doesn't mean that you're stupid, because people's path of excellence differs. Like, you may not be smart now, but you still can be, and it takes commitment to grow, you know. It takes hard work, and you'll get through it, bestie. Yeah, bestie, you'll get through it. You will be successful in life, trust me. Okay? And then it exists concurrently. And what I mean by that is that growth doesn't necessarily require maturity. Like, you don't need maturity to grow as a person, because again, growth is inevitable. The direction of it is what you can choose. But maturity requires growth, because in order to earn that experience, you need to grow. Yeah, that is pretty much it for what I think